All right, y'all. Today I have Casey Morlet with me. She is an amazing woman. She does homeschooling, she does acting, she's involved in her church. She's got a lot going on. So we're going to talk to her about her acting journey, and she's going to share all the advice she has and tips and everything about getting started and what to know and all of that. So, Casey, I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. Hi,
Of
everyone.
course. So we're going to get started with, what is your favorite joke?
Well, my kids tell me jokes all the time, and they think they're hilarious, or they make up jokes,
Oh, yeah.
and they're not exactly a joke. You're like having to force the laugh, but it's
Yes.
funny. Anyway, so their latest one is knock knock,
Who's there?
owls.
Owls who?
Yeah, they do.
I like that one.
Yeah,
That's really funny.
yeah,
Oh gosh. That's a good one. Okay, your kids did good on that one.
yeah. It was a good one.
Yeah. Okay, what all do you do in the film? Well, first, where do you live? And then what all do you do in the film industry?
I live in California, kind of in between LA and San Diego, so in Orange County.
Nice. And what
Yeah.
all do you do in the industry?
I am mostly an actress. I've helped produce a couple of things, but mainly because I'm not a like stand around personality. If I see some need that needs to be met and I can help with it, I'm more than happy to do that. And so yeah, help make things happen, basically.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so tell me more about we're supposed to be focusing on acting, but you said you have produced. So how did that turn up or come about?
I kind of just fell into it. It was with mainly with the last short film I did. I was just kind of behind the scenes helping the director who is an everything man, just trying to take some burden off of his plate, suggesting cast, and I love recommending people that I've worked with that are awesome Christians and uh yeah, just helping with logistics and whatnot. So he was kind enough to give me a producer credit on that one. And then before that, we did a 48-hour film project. It's like a competition thing in LA and with a different person. And so, yeah, it was a lot of behind the scenes coordination, getting crew and cast and organizing everything for that to make that happen. That was a big challenge because it was short time frame.
Yeah. Okay, so you didn't have to ask them for producer credit, like they were just generous,
No,
like, hey, I see the work that you've put in and you earned it.
yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that is so nice. I love
Yeah.
that. Cool. Okay, so you said mostly an actor. So when did you officially start acting?
I have been acting most of my life. My parents put me in like community theater as a child, so I think I really fell in love with it then. And my grandparents loved taking me to like performances and Broadway shows and stuff like that. So
Cool.
just the love for the stage and theater and all of that was really instilled in me. I think my parents put me in probably because I was a very quiet child, so it kind of drew that out of me. Um, and then just kept acting through high school and college. I was a journalism major, but it was part of the film department at the school I went to Biola.
Mhm.
And so I had a lot of friends in the film department, and they would ask me to be in their films when I was there. So that's when I really first got exposed to film and fell in love with film. I'd only been in theater things before that. Um, and then took some time off with having a family, and God made it clear that it was time to get back into it again and actually be able to pursue it more seriously. And so that was like last year, 2023.
Cool.
So, but yeah, then I've been pursuing it seriously ever since then.
Okay, tell me more about that. Like, how did he make it clear that it was time for you to get back into it?
In college, I just think he was just really clear about the door shut. You know, now is not the right time. Just a bunch of things were happening in my life, and um, it was disappointing. But looking back on it, I'm just so grateful for the timing because you don't see it when you're in it. But now, my kids are not in the baby stage anymore. They're a little bit older. So, I mean, they're not old, they're still needing me at home, homeschool, obviously. But I just felt this nudge like now's the time to look into it again. And I didn't have a good community back in college, like a supportive network like we do with the sisterhood now. And so many other aspects of my life now that I've seen that God has brought the community there to just keep me grounded and accountable and not about myself and glorifying myself, but honoring Him. So that has been really neat to see that.
Yeah, that's so good. So what was one of the first steps that you took whenever you felt like God was like, okay, now's the time to jump back in? What did you do to try to start helping your career take off?
I knew I needed to just seek out opportunity. So I probably observed the industry for maybe even a full year. Being in the Christian casting community Facebook group, just watching and seeing how things were done and what people were talking about on all that. And then at some point, the Powerhouse Sisterhood came up, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. I mean, that sounds amazing. And I've told you this before, but I was also like slightly skeptical, like, how great can this be? I'll try it for a month and then we'll see after that. Um, and then stayed ever since because community is like crucial in this industry, and you need people around you that are going to cheer you on and support you personally and professionally and hold you accountable. And then I also knew I needed professional headshots. I just had like a picture posted from some family photo session before, so it was definitely not professional. It was a nice picture, but it wasn't professional. And so I was very fortunate and drove into the LA area with this photographer. Her name's Rachel Stella Photography, and she knows the industry really well. Her son is in the industry, so she knew like what to draw out of me. And she spent just a ton of time with me and getting the specific looks that she knew I would need. And that tremendously helped at least have that, since I didn't have a reel or anything off the bat.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so you said that you were in the Christian casting Facebook group. What were you looking for? What were you kind of keeping your eye on as you were seeing those posts and stuff for a year?
I just felt like I'd been out of the industry for so long. And even when I was in it before in college, it was just very narrow because
Mm.
it wasn't, I was just in like my friends' projects on campus. So it wasn't broad. And I wanted and felt led to a broader audience, I guess, still faith based, but having more opportunity there. So I was basically just there to learn. Like I wanted to know, everything, soak in anything I could get, people's tips, how casting worked. I didn't know anything really at the start. So I just wanted to be a sponge.
Yeah, that's super smart. Okay, so the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. So you saw the post come through, but then what made you actually be like, okay, I'll try it for a month? Like, how were you feeling before that that made you jump into it?
I just felt kind of disconnected still. Like I knew I needed some connection point. Um, so yeah, I was like, I needed people that could speak into that from personal experience, and not just like be observing from the outside anymore, but to have people that had been in the industry and were growing too, and could grow alongside me and advise me, and to make sure that was really what God was calling me to. So I was like,
Yeah.
I will jump in and try it.
Yes. And then what benefits have come out of being involved in it?
So many benefits. We in the beginning we talked about self-tape setup and just practical elements, auditions and whatnot. It's also brought a ton of friendship and community that people, I mean, everybody cares about one another professionally, but also personally. It's awesome because we pray together, and it's just like a really safe place. So if we have a question, like there's no dumb question. We have a question and somebody is willing to answer, and like not just give you a short answer, brush you off, but pour into you and help make sure that you are where you need to be and understand, how to be successful. So,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. One of my friends today, she's not in the sisterhood, but we were talking about a film festival and she was just talking about how she doesn't feel like she's found her community, and she hadn't really been to a lot of film festivals. And I was like, man, I've attended classes where I've had like a bunch of friends, but they weren't Christians. So we weren't really
mm-hmm.
on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
I attended the film festival and I was like, oh, these are my people. Finally, like we're all pursuing the same thing. So you're right. Like earlier, you said community is so important, and it totally is, especially when we're Christians and we are doing this thing for Jesus. It's so helpful to have others who understand what that is, what that's about.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
what is what's been like one of the biggest struggles that you've had as an actor up to this point?
Early on, I would say not in it for the right reasons. I definitely, looking back, can see like a lack of maturity and wanting validation, I guess, which is not good. And now that's like part of my story, why I'm really grateful that God took me out of it at that point and put me back in now when He has, when I feel like I'm more mature in my faith and um, just understanding of how I can glorify Him and not myself in this. So that was definitely a challenge. I definitely want to honor God now and proclaim His name and not let everybody know who Casey is or get a pat on the back for whatever I've done. It's not about me anymore. So that is a challenge that God has helped me overcome for sure. And then practically, I would say not having materials for a reel, um, because there's so much emphasis put on a reel and showing people what you can do through your reel. So at first that was pretty discouraging because I was like, I just don't have the content. I don't know what to tell you, like, give me a chance. I would love to audition. But then I realized that, God doesn't need to work through that. And yes, it would be ideal to have a reel, but He can work, He's powerful. He can do anything He wants, and He can work um, with this. He's called me to it without a reel. And just in this past year, I've had so many opportunities to practice auditioning and be in student films and shorts and other things that now I have enough content to be in a reel. I mean, to make a reel. And in the next couple weeks, that will be put together and I'll have that. So it's super exciting.
Yay! Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Okay, so what are some tools and resources that you've used, or groups or communities or whatever, that have helped you grow your career?
100% Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite.
Yeah.
That, yeah, you and all the other ladies have just been such a good community, and just again practical, like how to self tape and what lighting do you need and what, I mean, even holding the camera horizontally and not, just practical things that you don't know anything about when you're first starting out. Um, Again, my headshot photographer was super helpful. Um, Biola University, I would say I would encourage everyone to like look into local film departments when you're first starting out, because they are a wealth of just talent and kids that are learning, and you can learn alongside them, and they're eager to have you, and everyone's really kind. And so that's been great for me that my name's now gotten passed around a lot at Biola. So I get random calls now from people I don't even know, and I'm like, sure, I'll help you out. So that's fun.
Yes.
Definitely Christian casting community on Facebook. Um, and then, oh, Beverly Holloway has a Tuesday, Let's Talk Tuesday chat with people where she shares a lot of industry information and whatnot too, perspective. So that's helpful.
Yeah, and I will say, to tag on to the university thing, getting involved in any kind of college or university film department is great, because a lot of times they're doing this for a class, which means they have to finish their product or their
Mm-hmm.
project, which means you get footage. Because sometimes indie filmmakers, they have this great idea and vision, but then they get into editing and editing takes so long and it's so detailed that you never end up getting the finished product.
Yeah,
So that is the good thing about being involved in those university projects.
definitely.
Um, okay, so being a Christian in the film industry, is there anything that you do or that you don't do because of your faith?
Yes, I definitely have clear boundaries. I haven't necessarily been presented with opportunities yet that where I've had to like stand up for those boundaries. Besides, I guess some things I'll submit. I don't have an agent, so some things I'll submit myself for on Actors Access, and it'll seem like an interesting project, and then you get the sides, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, this is not not
Yes.
something I want to align myself with." Um, so just staying in tune with the Holy Spirit's leading in that has been important, because I mean, since I'm not in it to glorify myself and like, oh, I need this job um, for the money or, anything like that, it's easier to be like, okay, decline, thank you for the opportunity, but pass on that. Um, so yeah, I definitely want to do projects that are honoring to my husband. So anything that crosses that boundary line would be a no-go. Also, just knowing the struggles I've had in the past, and when God closed that door, that I just don't want to put myself in a place of compromise in general. So I'm committed to doing family-friendly, faith-based, clean content. I'm not opposed to like rougher stories, but they definitely need to be like a story of redemption of or some sort.
Yeah, I totally hear you on that. Um, is there anything, well, being a Christian, how do you make sure that Jesus is first in your career? Like, I love what you just said about because it's not about me, it's easy to turn down those gigs because I'm not looking for the next opportunity and the next opportunity, but it's about God. So, how do you keep Jesus first as you're pursuing this industry, like your Bible study time, your church time, all of that?
Um, I definitely have to keep my priorities straight. So, knowing where my priorities lie, God is first always, and then family and friends, and then everything else. Um, so I find it very important to be active in my church. A couple years ago, my family switched churches to a smaller community, and that was kind of a time of upheaval in our life where we didn't have great community. And now we are so grateful. It was actually a similar time of joining the sisterhood too. So it was like all this community poured on you at once,
Yay!
which is awesome to feel like you know that you're in a place where God desires you to be.
Yes.
So yeah, we're in a smaller church now that just has amazing community. They've brought us in, wrapped us in their arms from the very start. We, went one day and felt immediately welcome, and never wanted to leave. So
Good.
now we're very involved there. I'm in women's ministry there, so planning Bible studies and encouraging women to be in community and stay in the Word. And then obviously, being in the Word is super important. Regularly in the Word, either with Bible study with my ladies at church or on my own. Our church studies like books of the Bible at a time. So it's kind of neat to, like, we're in Philippians right now, to just be reading Philippians and praying through that during the week, and then coming ready on Sunday to hear what our pastor has to say. Also, prayer is huge. I love
Yeah.
that we get to pray with each other in the sisterhood and have prayer partners. But just approaching every audition and time on set with prayer, and that God would be glorified in everything I do is crucial, because again, it's not about me and my abilities or non-abilities. It's about what God's going to do through me.
Mhm.
So I want him to be proclaimed, whether I'm on set or auditioning, or if I get an audition, get a booked a role, or if the role's passed on to someone else. So
Yeah.
definitely prayer.
That's good. Okay, so final question. Well, two more questions. What is your favorite book or quote?
I love to read. I am a major reader. Since
Yeah.
having kids, it has been a little bit more tricky because I don't always have a ton of time to read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say I really enjoy the author Ashley Gadd right now. She wrote a book recently called Create Anyway. Um, and I just like reading her Instagram because it's like reading a book anyways.
Yeah.
But she has this quote. I'm just going to read it because I won't get it exactly right. But she says, "How could I not celebrate what God has done? The permission unlocked, the sparks lit, the dreams stirred. Cheers that all of it matters. Making art and celebrating art and taking a moment to pause, reflect, and thank God for every part of this messy, wild, glorious process that has no doubt left us different than we were before." So I just thought that was really beautiful, and how we can celebrate the process, and the practice and the wins and the fails, and they're not fails because God's doing something through all of that. And she she was one that like really, I guess, boosted my confidence early on when I got back into acting, because she was having some like insecurities about being a writer. And she said one of her friends was like, just when you introduce yourself, just say, "I'm a writer." Like, you are a writer, claim it. So I was like, I took that to my perspective. I was like, I'm going to claim it. I'm an actress. I don't just like attempt to act, or I'm not an aspiring actress. I am an actress. And so claiming that, and just celebrating the whole process of creating and what God does through that, is really neat. And I appreciate her for that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. It's so funny you say that because I also, for the longest, I think for a decade, I didn't call myself an actor, even though I had done a bunch of things and all of that. And I know about the power of words and everything, but it was like it just took so long to say, I'm an actor. Just so strange
Mm-hmm.
that we do that. But you're right, just claim it from the get-go and then you become. And it's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so final question for somebody who's wanting to get into acting, but they're feeling stuck or they're not sure how to start. What advice do you have for them?
I would say 100% find yourself a community, whether it's the Powerhouse Sisterhood or something else that works better for you. Find yourself a community that will be able to answer your questions, but will also hold you to what you say you want to do, and hold you accountable to honoring Jesus in this, and not compromising. Um, and then, yeah, just the practical, like, get headshots, start auditioning, do practice. There's sites everywhere you can find, do practice taping, and um, yeah, just get your feet wet. It's scary at first because it feels overwhelming. There's a lot that you feel like you need, but um, honestly, after practicing so many times, it becomes second nature and easy to knock out auditions in a couple takes and not have to spend hours on them with the setup or doing 500 takes or anything. So,
Yes.
yep.
That is so true. And I love, like you said, the community, because I think it was Emily, she said that community is so much stronger than networking. And I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, you're so right. Like I hadn't thought
Yep.
about it, but it is so right.
Yep. Because
So,
people know you, and then they're not just like meeting some random person that sounds great, but they actually
right.
know you. Yeah.
Yes. And then you have people who can pitch for you and be like, because they know
Mm-hmm.
you, they trust you, and they can say, oh, I'm not available, but Casey is, or
Mm-hmm.
I can't, but Casey might be able to, or Casey lives in your area, ask her. It's
Yep.
such a different ball game when you have community.
Yep.
Okay, that is it. Where can people find you online?
I am at Casey.Morlet on Instagram, and on Facebook, Casey Morlet. And keep an eye out for a website and the reel coming soon.
Hey, awesome. I love it. Okay, thank you, Casey. I love this.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.